It was one of those nights when the wind seemed to carry whispers of despair. 15 strangers, soaked and shivering, roared down the icy country road on their motorcycles, hearts pounding against the unforgiving snowstorm. They had no place to go, nowhere to stop. But then, through the white blur, a single warm light flickered in the distance. Little did they know, that light belonged to a kind old lady whose small house would soon teach them a lesson about humanity they would never forget. And by morning, their act of gratitude would shock a whole town. Marjorie Hale had lived in her little house at the edge of Pine Hollow for over 50 years. The wind whipped through the trees outside, rattling her windows, and she wrapped herself in her knitted shawl, sipping hot cocoa in the silence of her cozy kitchen. Her life had been quiet, almost lonely, since her husband passed and her children moved to the city. Yet, despite the solitude, her heart remained large, perhaps because she had learned that even the smallest act of kindness could ripple far beyond expectation. That evening, as the snow fell harder than anyone had anticipated, a deep rumble shook the air. Marjorie peered out the window and squinted through the sheets of snow. 15 motorcycles, struggling against the storm, carved a path down the winding road. Their riders, soaked to the bone, helmets fogged with frost, looked like figures from another world, desperate, cold, and beaten by the night. Marjorie's instincts didn't hesitate. She grabbed her coat, opened her heavy wooden door, and shouted over the wind, "Come in, you'll freeze out there." The bikers, startled and wary, glanced at each other. It wasn't often that a stranger offered help without question, without concern for who they were. But the warmth spilling from her doorway was irresistible. One by one, they pushed their bikes into the snow, muddy and exhausted, and stepped into her tiny living room. Inside, the house was modest but inviting. The fire crackled, casting dancing shadows on the walls lined with photographs of family long gone. Marjorie offered blankets, steaming mugs of tea, and food that smelled like home. "You're safe here," she said simply. "Rest, you've earned it." First, the bikers were reluctant to accept. They were a rough, tight-knit group, used to living on the edge and trusting few. But the sincerity in Marjorie's eyes dissolved their defenses. Stories began to flow over cups of cocoa, the lonely nights on the road, the joys of riding, the pain of lost friends. Marjorie listened quietly, laughing gently at their jokes and offering words of comfort at their confessions. The storm raged outside, but inside, a different warmth had taken hold. By the time everyone had settled, the house was alive with camaraderie. Marjorie realized that in offering shelter, she had not just given them a place to stay, she had reminded herself of something she had nearly forgotten, that human connection could still break through even the coldest night. The next morning, Marjorie awoke to an eerie silence. She thought about the bikers, assuming they had already left, perhaps embarrassed to overstay their welcome. But when she stepped onto her porch, she froze. One by one, she saw gleaming motorcycles lining the snowy road, stretching farther than her eyes could follow, more than 100 in total. The bikers had returned, bringing their extended friends, neighbors, and fellow riders. They had come to show her gratitude, not with words alone, but with a demonstration of the impact she had made on their lives. Marjorie's eyes filled with tears as the leader of the group, a burly man named Jake, approached her. "We'll never forget what you did for us," he said. "You didn't just give us shelter, you reminded us that kindness exists in this world. You've earned more than thanks. You've earned our respect." One by one, the bikers came forward to shake her hand, some even hugging her tightly. Children peeked from the motorcycles' sidecars, curious and wide-eyed, learning what true compassion looked like. Marjorie laughed and cried at the same time, feeling a flood of warmth that outshone the morning sun. The event became a story that traveled far beyond Pine Hollow. Neighbors came by to see the house that had hosted 15 strangers through the storm. Reporters arrived to capture the incredible gesture. And yet, Marjorie insisted she hadn't done anything extraordinary, just what anyone would do if they could. In the end, it was more than gratitude. It was a lesson in humanity. A small act of courage and kindness could inspire a community, bridge generations, and restore faith in people, even on the coldest, most storm-ridden nights. And as the bikers roared off again, leaving trails in the fresh snow, Marjorie knew her heart would always be full, not because of fame, but because she had made a difference. Her porch remained quiet once more, the storm finally gone, but she could still feel the echo of engines and laughter in the crisp morning air. A reminder that even one person's kindness could multiply beyond imagination. A single act of selflessness can change lives, create bonds across generations, and inspire a wave of gratitude that reaches farther than we could ever imagine. Sometimes, the smallest door opens the largest heart.